Okay, this is our second lab. It counts as our third. This is on scientific observation. It's pretty straightforward. You should be able to record a large number of observations during a 10-minute period, know the difference between observation and interpretation, and identify quantitative and qualitative observations. So we're looking at a candle here today. You can read over the discussion, see the materials. Basically, we're going to examine a candle carefully and record a minimum of 6 observations. And there's going to be a total of 18 observations. You have to have 6 observations before the candle is lit, 6 while it is burning, and 6 after it has burned. So a little bit of clarification. You have to have 6 observations. They can be either qualitative or quantitative. Qualitative means that you can't measure them. For example, its color, what it smells like, how it feels. Quantitative, and I want these to be the bulk of your observations, if you can. Quantitative is something that you can measure. So I'm going to do some measurements for you, and then I'm going to burn it for 10 minutes, and then take some measurements afterwards. So let's get started. We should read this before we actually do the lab. So you're going to make a data table. You've got to have a table that has before, during, and after. And you should also have a column that has whether it is qualitative or a qualitative or a quantitative observation. So here are the questions. Now, these are going to be some of the observations as well. Questions: what was the length of the candle before? What was the diameter of the candle before burning? What was the length of the candle flame? What was the color of the candle flame? Where would the flame be the hottest? What was the flame caused by the burning of? And was the flame smooth and steady, or was it irregular? Was the color of the flame constant, or did it change during the 10 minutes? And distinguish between quantitative and qualitative observations, and give an example of each. The conclusion you put in the conclusion part of your lab, and that's really, you can read that. Make sure you include that though. All right, so let's take some measurements first here. I'm going to take the candle and find its mass. I'm not going to give you the mass, but I will show you. Okay, that's there. Let's move this over. Remember, these things are called the riders. So make sure that's on there. Alright, that's too heavy. Let's move this over. And just a little bit. Alright, I'm going to call it. You see that rider, you see this rider, and you should be able to see that rider. Remember, our observations, our use of this instrument is to the nearest thousandth. So hopefully you got that. Alright, let's check the length of this thing. We'll take it at the longest point, not including the wick. So there's my eye on that one. And if I'm looking from the top, that's what it is. Okay, the diameter. Let me slide this to the end. And we'll get right down. Okay, there's your diameter. And there's what the candle looks like. All right, when we're in class, I'm going to ask you to put a paper towel down. This is kind of like a big clothespin. It's going to stabilize it. So let's start it. I'll let that settle in for about a minute. You can see the color of it, I hope. Now I'll put the see how close I can get this thing here. Put it behind it. Okay, you should be able to get the length. Got a little too close. I'm going to try to get right close to the wick. I don't think it's going to let me focus, but if you're here, okay, so you're making observations during, right? You've got to have 6 during. I'll poke and prod at it so you can make some kind of observation. Should be able to see that. This is like a Zen moment. So at this point you could probably fast forward to the end. Well, let's see here. I'm going to use my loop here. Remember how this works. Camera on this phone is not great, But you might be able to see that there's an inner cone on this thing too. There's an inner cone that's right about the top of it's right there. Okay, so note the color of it. If you want to fast forward to the end, you can. I'm just going to leave it here for another 10. Another 8 minutes, I think. Excuse me. Okay, that's because I blew the I moved the paper around. All right, it's been 10 minutes, so I'm gonna blow this out. Should be able to make another observation or two. Okay. I'll make some more observations here. I'm going to mass it again. Okay, I'm going to call it. You can see the tens rider, the one rider, and the smallest rider. Hopefully you can see that. Okay. I'm going to measure the length again. I got the other ruler a little too close to the flame, so it's out of commission. So there it is, lined up on the 0. And here it is from the top. That's good practice for parallax, because if you're over here, you're gonna go high. If you're over here, it's gonna be low, so you really should be right on top of it. Okay, there's that. And I'll also put this up there in case you want to use this as an observation. Okay. All right. There are your observations. Unfortunately, if you are not here, you can't feel it, you can't smell it. The color should have been okay, but everything else, the measurement part should be good. Okay? I didn't take the diameter afterwards, but that should be fairly obvious. All right. Good luck with that.